The What It Takes Radio Company presents another episode, an adventure into the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience with the Christian Entrepreneur Network, and we welcome you. Today we have an interesting question. Was Jesus gentle, meek, and mild, or was he something else as a world-class entrepreneur? Let's talk about that and see what we might discover. Well, here we go again, guys and gals, or ladies and gentlemen. And this is another adventure, an experiment as we begin to try to help you be a world-class Jesus entrepreneur. Brought to you by the Christian Entrepreneur Network, also known as the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. And we are in the business of helping young men and women, particularly them, to really do something different at this turning point in life. That's right. The assassination of Charlie Kirk shook the world, literally. A young man, 31, 32 years of age, who was an entrepreneur, both spiritually, in the political realm, and in the educational world. He shook up the world, and he also had a great many fans and friends, and he had a number of foes. By the way, whenever you do something significant, you will have friends and you will have foes. How do I know? Because that's the way the world is, and of course, that's what Jesus discovered and knew right away. If you do the right thing, if you do it right, somebody is not going to like what you're doing because they're not doing it right. World class, it's not a boast. Remember, world class means we want to care. We care. We want to cross borders and boundaries. We want to be really good at what we do. We want to be world class. And we are trying to make that happen. And one of the things that has come out, especially as a result of the world situation, and particularly the situation with our good friend, Charlie Kirk, who I never knew, didn't know him well at all. But I realized that he was a man of similar spirit. And so I honor his memory, and I think that there's a good way for us to embrace what he started. And part of what I want to do is that go to the turning point movement and say, yes, it's about politics. It's about culture. It's about education. But it's also about being a man or woman of God and spirit in the marketplace, in the entrepreneurial world. And so that's what this program, this experiment, this adventure is all about. And we're hoping that you will join us in whatever comes from this adventure. Here we are in the new world-class Jesus Entrepreneur Studio. Of course, you know that it doesn't really exist, but it's real. That's right. We live in an AI world. And as some would say, that's where sometimes a fantasy crosses reality, and sometimes you don't know what is real. And that's part of the issue today. How do we know what is real? We should really do, how we should really live, how we should do business in the marketplace. Because everybody has to do business in the marketplace. And let's see if we can figure out that maybe the man of the marketplace, not just the man of spirit and faith, Jesus was in the marketplace. His ministry was 3 years. It's best we know. His entrepreneurial career was probably about 18. If at the age of 12 or 13, he began to do the business, probably of his father, it seems that was the case, he became an entrepreneur, a carpenter, a technician, a businessman. Some would say even a handyman. There's always a wonderful controversy as to just exactly what he was. But we do know this. He was a man, probably had strong hands and strong body. And yeah, he was a gentleman. And we talked about that last week, and I challenged you to say, what is a gentleman? Now, you need to answer that question. How are you going to come into the world? Yeah, there are lots of dudes and guys and, bros. Sure, I can take that. All of those descriptions. But I will still be old-fashioned enough to say what the world needs now are real world-class. Treat women, treat children, treat others like old-fashioned gentlemen. What does that mean to you? And how you dress, how you treat others, how you appear, how you carry yourself in the marketplace, how you perform? As I said, I've had both the opportunity and the sadness to, in the last few years, bury some friends. And part of my tribute was they were keen and excellent examples, the essence of Christian gentlemen. Men in the marketplace, they were. They weren't professional ministers, but they were gentlemen in the marketplace. And they lived out that faith and character and had a great deal of impact. In fact, I would say some of them had more impact than the professionals who do it for a living. And by the way, that's what all of us in the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience and the Christian Entrepreneur Network hopefully are all about. Yes, for some people, it will be a way that they can actually make this the way they do life and living. Good for them. But for many of us, we will also not only be involved in this enterprise, but we will have other enterprises. Because in the modern world, you oftentimes work in a variety of marketplaces, and you have a variety of streams of influence and income that you bring to the marketplace. So I also have, as you might suspect, a coaching enterprise, a coaching and broadcasting enterprise. This is one of the ventures that I believe God has led me to, but I have a number of things that help me not only make a living, but serve others and serve them well. But this is how to be a world-class Jesus entrepreneur. And there you see the poster, which is also the cover for a book that you can now buy. It'll cost you $5. I would appreciate it. Go to Kindle, your Kindle book, and order How to Be a World-Class Jesus Entrepreneur. And we'll be talking more about that. But very much today, I just simply wanted to say, as a gentleman, what is happening at this turning point is that young gentlemen are coming in greater and growing numbers, not only perhaps to the expressions of religious churches and organizations, but they are growing in a demand, a demand and a desire to be able to live life more purposefully, more powerfully. As someone said, yes, I want to marry a woman. I want to have and raise children. I want to make my mark in the organizations that don't just serve themselves, but serve others. I want to live a life of meaning. Or as one of my heroes said, Eric Liddell, the guy of Chariots of Fire, an athlete par excellence, world-class Olympic champion, said, I want to feel God's pleasure. When I run, I feel his pleasure. When I do what I do, I feel his pleasure. The way I make my living is not only a living, it gives me a sense of life and purpose and direction. Is that what you want? I got a little free logo the other day. I get a lot of those offers. And there's the one that struck me. And I downloaded it. And I'll just describe it for you. Maybe I'll show it to you. But it is a box of beautiful, well-rounded, very pretty green apples. All of them very nice, except there's one that is red. Different. As I keep telling you, remember, those are powerful words. We're different. There's all kinds of people doing all kinds of things that we may do and we may provide in the marketplace, but we're different. And remember, you are in the business of being different and of making a difference. I just want you to think about that. All right? Remember, we're told sometimes, and I remember it, gentle Jesus, meek and mild. Nice expression, nice thought, but I don't think it was true, at least not in the way we may have thought. I'm sure he was gentle, very kind, very wonderful. Children were attracted to him, and I love how the chosen makes it literally that in the exploration of his mission and ministry, the first people Jesus deals with are the children. Love that expression. But I also know that he was tough, and he was brave, and he was courageous, and he wasn't afraid. He was a tough guy. Yeah. They stood aside. They stepped aside when he walked through them. They didn't mess with him. They didn't know what to do with him. Finally, they had to betray him and try and kill him. And that wasn't easy. And in the end, they didn't kill him. You see, because he was too tough to die. But he gave up his spirit. They didn't kill him. He gave it up. In his own time and in his own way. How do we live in some ways as a gentleman? Gentle Jesus, meek and mild. And sometimes do we come across like Aslan from the story? A lion, a roaring lion. I love the line about Aslan. Oh, he's a tame lion. Oh no, he's not a tame lion. He's a good lion. As one of my friends said, the goal of the Christian faith is not to tame a man. The goal of the Christian faith is to empower him to be truly God's man. And in doing that, he truly does join the man in perhaps being a man for all seasons, stages, and ages. They're men who make a difference. That's the deal. We're here to make the difference. I'm Stan Hustad. I hope you will join me in this mission. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to lead. I don't know how profitable or fruitful it will be, but it's what we're called to do right now. And so we live the adventure, and I hope you'll join me and live it with me, and we'll see what it brings. Hopefully, it will soon pass away from old men like me to younger men, and then, of course, to really young men. A whole new generation and a whole new generation. That's my goal, that when I go, and that will be soon, that there will be a whole generation of 2, maybe 3 generations who will follow up, and they will live out. They will be imitators of the Jesus entrepreneur. Thank you for your time today. I would love to hear from you. Just reach out to me at stan@witradio.net, stan@witradio.net. It's time for us to see if we can change the world a bit, maybe even make a dent in the universe. That's what we're called to do. Let's do it well. Bye for now.